We are in week 11. That means your source summaries are due, okay? Again, your source summary number one, you're going to have two of them. Source summary number one is due this week. Again, I grade these very brutally. But the cool thing is, I give you templates, I give you videos, I give you walkthroughs, I give you all of the things. So it's up to you to do the footwork to make sure you're following the examples, you're following the templates, and you're doing all the things that I have given to you, okay? Source summaries are 105 points. Kind of a lot of points, right? Well, the reason why I do that is how important these are. This is your research. This is a part that leads you into what your ultimate goal is, which is the research paper. So I put a lot of emphasis on this. And the other reason why I put a lot of emphasis on this is to help you to follow guidelines. It's important, right? Like, I remember I used to work at Lowe's, and there'd be signs everywhere about, please don't such and such, whatever. And then people would come over and they'd do the opposite of what the sign said. And I'm like, did you not read the sign? So I want you to get into the habit of reading all the things before you jump into something. So that's why this is such a big deal. Okay. Also, the other reason why it's a big deal is you're pulling information from other people and they've done a lot of work. They have done a lot of research, and you get the opportunity to go, oh, thank you for that. I'm going to use this to validate my points. Okay. You need to give them credit. All right. If you don't give them credit, it's considered plagiarism, and plagiarism is not looked fondly upon here at Buford. So plagiarism is not good. So I'm giving you all the opportunities to not plagiarize. Yay, all right? Keys to success. That's my ultimate goal here. So again, source summary, I'm so particular. I'm like, that little name in the corner, your last name with the page number? I want that. Those little things over here on this side with your name and all that other stuff, I want that. I want your title to look a certain way. I want your title to look exactly as it does on the template. Source summary in bold and in all caps. Sorry, source summary in all caps. Obviously, your title will be bold. You have your colon, and then you have your topic question. Okay, not one word. You have the question. You have the full, like, what is your paper about? That's what I want there. Okay, so one words don't work for me on that one, because I'm gonna ask you, like, what is this topic? I don't understand. You just put immigration. What does that mean? I don't understand. And then I can look at your sources and I'm like, your sources still aren't answering the question, if that makes sense. So yes, I go through and I check your sources. I go through and I make sure things are correct. Trust me, it's a lot of work, which is why it's a lot of points. It's more work on me than it is for you, because you get to find all this, but then I have to go through and correct it, blah, blah. Anywho, so I give you the template, okay? I give you the walkthroughs. I give you everything. I give you all the bones. You just have to put the meat on it. Super easy. I'm sure a lot of you who just finished the narrative are like, thank God, structure. So yes, I give you all the things where you fill in the blank. So a lot of this is just to get into the habit. So when we talk about MLA format, the reason why I give you the template is so that you understand why it goes in that order. For me, the reason why it's so important is because when I grade, I can grade these super fast. I'm like, yep, nope, yep, nope. All right. And I can also tell when there's a citation machine. Do not use a citation machine. I will try not to delete it. All right. Because this is all online. But I really truly mean it when I say do not use those. Here's why. Again, I have an instructor who's like, oh, I've used those, but they're such a pain in the butt because then I got to change all this stuff because it's not in the right order. Well, why don't you just use the template? She's like, there's a template? Well, yeah, I made one. Here you go. She's like, oh my God, this is life-saving. I'm all, I know. And that's what I do here, is try and make things that seem hard easy, because you just got to break it down, man. So I give that to you. So again, MLA format, I am very, very particular about. Some of you have actually been citing your sources as we've already done, and that's beautiful. I love that. I love that you show me the source that you've used. That's, validating your point, okay? What else? So when I talk about filling in the blanks for this particular scholarly journal, when it comes to MLA format, you will have an author, a title of the work, where it came from, the volume number, and the issue number. But remember, volume number is a little v, your number, and then it's a comma, little no. It's a number, not an ISS. It's a number, NO. Okay? So literally follow the template to the T. You just fill in the little tiny blanks and you're good to go. You will always have a date. You will always have a page number. You're going to notice that it goes PP. PP. PP stands for multiple pages. And you're not just going to have one page from a scholarly journal. That's like impossible. That's barely the abstract. So you're going to want PP, which means pages, 32 through 68, whatever you pulled from. Okay, you want the full gamut of all the pages that apply, right? And so that's usually all the pages of the article itself. Okay, when you cite your source in your actual paper, you just do the pages that you pulled from. But when we talk about MLA format, like in the works cited page, you do the pages of the full article. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. When we get more into in-text citation. For now, we're just going to do the source summary. Okay, when it says where the source is from, what I mean by that, especially from a scholarly journal, is I want whether it's going to be from EBSCO or JSTOR, I need that in the DOI number. So just if you got it from JSTOR, use JSTOR, JSTOR, okay, no E, you'll see that. Or if you pulled from EBSCO, EBSC. Oh, that's what I mean when I say where it came from. All right, the date is also very particular. It is the day, the month, the year. The day, the month, the year. Or sometimes you might not have the day, the month, and the year. Scholarly journals are usually just a month and a year because it's a journal. So it's usually monthly. Sometimes it's quarterly, like spring or fall. But when it comes to a scholarly journal, it'll be like May 2019 or fall 2019 or spring 2019. That's what a scholarly journal date will look like, okay? Don't forget the hanging indentation on your source summary. Again, I'm super particular when I grade these. It's like 5 points for your name in the corner alone. The sources, when I grade, there's like 15 points just to correctly cite the source, okay? So please make sure that you do it correctly. Do it right the first time, okay? And I think that's it. And don't freak out. I literally give you the template and I guide you through in detail how to do this. So I did that more so last week to really give you the heads up. This week, again, those are parts of your reading are going to be what is a source summary, how do you find the scholarly journals, and then how do you put it in MLA format. So I give all of that to you. I can't do the work for you. This is up to you. This is now your class where you are doing all that really cool work, okay? Because it's a topic that I want you to enjoy. So think about, your topic should be something you're enjoying. And it's okay. There's still work. You may, whether or not you love the topic, you may hate research. And hopefully my goal is as you start researching, like, ooh, what about that? What about that? And I would like you to kind of go down the rabbit hole and see where it takes you. And that's my goal. Me, I'm wildly interested in all the things, as you can tell. That's y'all going to be a part of my brain in this class, just to see, there's all these things, what's out there. So anyway, that is what we're looking for in the source summary. I don't need to beat a dead horse on it. We did this last week. But I'm really emphasizing that in this class this week. Okay, so once you first do the source summary, like, oh, that was actually really easy. Like the narrative, for most students, the narrative is the hardest project, right? Because you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to write. And then here I'm like, here's a template, fill in the blanks. Like, oh, I can do that. That's easy. And it's weird because it seems mindless, but you're actually doing a lot of work. So anyway. That being the case, we're going to get into anti-tourism. Woohoo! What's really cool about this week is, for your discussion, look, I know you have the source summary, but you've been working on it since last week. So, all right. This week's discussion, you're going to be planning a trip. So it's like kind of like a little bit of a fun time while you're working on your source summary too. Maybe you need a break. So you're going to go on a trip. And what I would like you to do is go on a trip as an anti-tourist, okay? Anti-tourism is not touring, but it's the opposite, or not going on trips, sorry. So anti-tourism is not going places. It's just not partaking in tourist attractions. Okay, so I just read recently about how, I don't know if you've ever heard of wave pools. I really follow a lot of the surf community, and I have my opinion on wave pools. But on Oahu is the island in Hawaii, right? The gathering place, it's where Honolulu is. They are planning 4 wave pools on an island. The whole, like, it takes barely 2 hours to drive around the entire island, and you want to create wave pools? I'm gonna calm myself just a little bit there. And it's wildly frustrating. And I think as someone who used to live there, who follows the community there, who's, tries to be as respectful and understanding of the locals and the land and the, history of it, the idea of a wave pool makes me want to absolutely punch somebody. And here's why: you live on an island, there's waves everywhere. If you're not able to surf out in the ocean, maybe you shouldn't be there. I'm just saying, like, be respectful. And so I know that was wildly opinionated, and forgive me, like, I know. I think because I just don't understand why you would need 4 wave pools on an island that is already losing a lot of land to, homes being built for people who are not local, who are able to afford the land that locals aren't able to afford, right? So it's this, it pulls at my heartstrings, and it pulls at my heartstrings because I see the culture and the land dying. And that's, as you can tell, yes, I care about culture and land, and that's where my heart beats. So when I think about anti-tourism, I think of, please don't go to Hawaii right now. I think that's the other reason why it bothers me. There's 4 wave pools, because it's pulling billions of gallons of water from an already, like, the island is running out of fresh water. Unfortunately, the Navy had these gas tanks, and they leaked into the water supply. And so the Navy's trying to figure it out. And the locals are like, even the military families have gotten wildly sick from this. And so they're trying to pull from other water sources, but the water source that was there was such a big one that the impact it's really, really, really not good. So I'd highly suggest, of all your touring, do not go to Hawaii right now. Please don't go to Hawaii. And, even locals are like, we can survive without tourism. We can survive without tourism. The businesses that are, they will find other places. It's not that big. Locally, that's different, but locals support locals. So anyway, majority of the stuff on Oahu are ABC stores anyway. So there's a literal ABC store on every corner. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up. I would just say buy local. If you want to support, you can support from a distance, and you can look that up. So anyway, neither here nor there. It's kind of like, it's my home, or was my home. And, again, I'm, a little white girl. It's not my home. It was never my home. But I just have a certain respect for it. So that was a weird tangent. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, so that being the case, we're going to talk about how we can just be better when we go places, and how we can be less assholes. I think that's the term. Yeah. So forgive me. Curse word number 1 so far, I think. Okay, so to be a better tourist, I put a link there from Instagram, from Hawaii, and they're like, hey, how can you be a better tourist? Just don't do touristy things. Like, to be honest with you, snorkeling at Hanauma Bay has destroyed Hanauma Bay, and they're trying to do better and, like, give more, like, you go down, at least in the last time I've been there, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've gotten back there, but they take you to a spot where you watch a video and say, hey, look, this is how we take care of the coral. Please don't touch it. Don't touch any of the wildlife. It's like hands off, just swim. All right. No oils. And it's hard. You have people from all over the world, from different cultures, different places, different mindsets, different everything. And how do you say, please just don't, in the kindest way possible? Anyway, so Hanauma Bay, there's times where they have to close it so that the reef can kind of regenerate itself from all the tourism. And it sucks, you pay a lot of money, you go to Hawaii and you can't go to Hanauma Bay. You wanted to go on a Thursday, it's closed. It's just, sometimes we just have to suck it up and respect the fact that we're visitors. And sometimes it's like, I get it, but so it's just something we have to be considerate of, okay? And then maybe research more on ways you can tour that are not touristy, where there's not a gazillion people doing the same thing all day. We'll talk about animal attractions in a little bit. So, anywho, uh, again, source summary. So, anti-tourism, when we're thinking about traveling sustainably, think about like, do you have to go and fly, to Hawaii, or is there something local that, you can look into? And I don't know. I don't know what's on the, I don't travel as much as I used to. I think the last place I went was Monterey, and I got motion sick and I was driving, so that was fun. Anyway, so what's like a local spot that you can go where you can contribute to your own community, to your own county, to your own state? Like, what is it, something that you can do that you haven't done before? Just maybe that might be your first step. And that's okay. It's okay to try something you've never done before. Local museums. I know Chico and even Orville have a lot of really cool places you can go. It just to kind of understand, like, what's the history of, this land in which we live. Um, Also consider visiting sustainable destinations. I have a link of different places. Some of these places I've never heard of before. Some of them I have. Slovenia is one of them I've heard of, but have I ever been there? No. Maybe that's cool. Maybe like do something alternative. Like what's a really cool like place that you've maybe never heard of that might be kind of cool. And then maybe you can go to places that could use your support, not just support from the tourism, which it is what it is, but like a lot of places in like the United States that have been hit with hurricanes, they're trying to rebuild and they might need more people coming back for tourism. So staying in country could be very helpful because again, if you want to go to the beach, then you hit those places that could totally use the support right now. And maybe that means you do something beyond just sitting on the beach. Maybe you actually go out and help. I don't know. I know, I get it, like it's a vacation. I want to just do nothing. I don't want to think. I think, oh gosh, darn day. I just want to sit and relax. Like I get that feeling. Maybe you want to feel like you're someplace exotic. Totally understandable. But look at places that might be more sustainable. More might have. Again, maybe it's rebuilding and it's all brand new, looking great. Maybe go there and give your support in that way. So lots of different options. And then plus it's a cool way to go, oh shit, oh, excuse my language, curse number two. Then you might be able to go in and go, oh, this is cool. I didn't realize, like, is this what it meant to, start over again in this town? I don't know. I don't know. Everyone has their own thing. These are just some options. And then also for me, I love the ocean. I love the coast. It's always heartbreaking. I'm sure you've seen that video from Oahu where it was just nothing but fishing nets and plastic and all kinds of other garbage on the ocean beaches. When you go to touristy places, a lot of times they'll scrape the ocean. Like when I lived in Oxnard by the beach, there was a thing that came through and it would scoop up everything and, throw it away, which is funny because it ended up back in the ocean again. But anyway, like there are some places that have the time and the money to clean up beaches. But, if you can go to a place where you don't see so much, you can go through and maybe pick up, maybe take care of. I remember cigarette butts when I was in Santa Barbara. That was a big thing. Cigarette butts are really dangerous. So I don't know. These are just thoughts. Like, it's weird to say all this. It's like, go on vacation and clean up someone else's shit or stuff. Anyway, so you can go to a marine protected area, which is really cool. Monterey does the best they can do considering it's a touristy place and there's a lot of cars and a lot of visitors there. But it's really cool to see the work that they're doing. So anyway, as you're going to be planning a trip here in this discussion, there is 52 places to travel. There's two links. One you might not get to. The other one, it's a blog that pulled from the New York Times. I know, New York Times, sometimes you have to pay for it. I don't even pay for New York Times, but I read it all the time. I try and find other avenues where they pull from the New York Times. So go to the 52 places to travel and then pick something. Maybe you've never heard of one of those places and you're like, I'm curious. And try and see what a vacation there might look like. Maybe how much it would cost, how long is the travel, how would you get there, how would you get around? Like, I don't know, this could be a really cool thing that like you start planning and then you actually follow through with it and do it for yourself at one point in your life. So this would be pretty cool to try out. So Pick something that might sound appealing to you, maybe something obscure, maybe something you're like, I've heard of this. I didn't think it would be necessarily a really cool place to travel in 2022. Who knows? So take a look at that. Here, go ahead and Google some information on it. For this, you can just Google some stuff and try and figure out what would a trip look like there for you. That being the case, a lot of times we talk about traveling like what's worse? Is it driving? Is it flying? Is it boats? For I work at Chico State and I work in the Parks and Rec department, and my boss, he goes on cruises all the time, always on a cruise. And it's funny because I talked to him yesterday and I was like, did you know that cruises are probably the most polluting ways of traveling you could go on? He's like, yeah, I know, but I was like, anyway. So we have these conversations. So I just answered one of the questions in the quiz. When you go traveling, of flying in planes planes and ships, what is the worst for the environment? And ladies and gentlemen, it is ships, which is fine with me. I hate cruising. I've been on cruises and I'm not gonna go again. Anyway, that's a whole different story. I'm just not a fan of cruises, and now I have even more reason. It's terrible for the environment. I also get sick on them. But no, so ships are pretty bad for you. But again, this isn't to say don't go on cruises. Obviously, you gotta do what you want to do. It's just something to be more mindful of as we go on and as we do more footprints on this earth. Like, what is our contribution to the health and wellness of our children? If you have children, I don't plan on having children, so there's that. But I still care about other people who are going to be living after me. What can I do to help? What am I doing? Nothing. I just sit at home. So there's that. But I'm not traveling, so I'm not going on boats. Okay. So what I would like you to do when you're filling out, like trying to figure out your trip, I want you to use the carbon calculator. All right, so take a look at the carbon calculator and see what footprint are you leaving on this trip, and what are ways that you can maneuver around it. I don't know. That's going to be up to you. Is a bike possible? Can you bike around the area? I've gone to Italy and we just walked everywhere. It was fantastic. We didn't even take bikes. We didn't do gondolas or anything like that, but it was really, really cool. And it was very intimate walking around. So I don't know, maybe that's an option that can reduce a carbon footprint, even though I took like 3 planes to get there. So anyway. Okay, so plan a trip at these locations that you pick above. Pick like 1 or 2. Whichever one, it's up to you, however you want to do. Like, I would pick like 2 or 3 of the 52 different places, and then from those 2 or 3, maybe pick 1 or 2 that you would do a carbon footprint and just kind of see what it looks like, just so you have an idea. And then if you want to include driving and any of that stuff, go ahead, just kind of add like it was a real trip, just kind of like a fun little thing. And then they're talking about how carbon offsets might be something that can offset what you did on your trip, where you can purchase, in a sense, ways that you can purchase someone to go plant a tree or to use less carbon in, farming or something, right? So I don't know, this could be it. And so what's kind of cool about that is people say sustainability is expensive. Well, if you kind of pay for it, right, it's supposed to even it out. So what you could do is maybe your carbon footprint's here, and then you do a carbon offset. Like, what would you purchase? What would you do to offset your trip? So these are just things to look at. So usually with these carbon offsets, you can actually take a look at it. They're not that expensive either. So they're saying that some carbon offsets can be bought for like $10 for a metric ton. That's a lot. So that's actually pretty cool. Anyway, again, you see how this works for you, and I'm very curious to see what y'all come up with. This, to me, I was like, oh, I want to do this, so maybe I'll just do my own too. But anyway, I thought that was a really cool idea. One thing that I do recall in all of my my trips, I say all of my trips, when I went to Mexico and then in my time in Hawaii, animal attractions are one of those things that are they're just terrible. Okay, I'm sure you see videos and pictures of people with the cubs and they're, these little animals and they're swimming with the dolphins. Like, oh, I want to do that. It's a lot different when you're in person. Like, the picture, you're like, oh, that's cool. But when you're there, it's awkward. It's not romantic. You're pushed in, you're pulled out. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but some of you have probably been to animal attractions and you're like, this is weird, man. And it's like, thanks for the picture, and then you're out. Depends on where you've been, depends on where you go. My husband at the time, when I went down to Mexico, one of the attractions was to, and this is like you drive down in some sketch roads, and then you end up by a beach, and there's these horses there, and they were emaciated. You could tell they were just tired. They didn't want to do it. And it's like, I don't know animals. Like, I know animals, but you can tell. You can tell when it was just not. It was these horses had been run a lot with not much care, unfortunately. Anyway, and I remember making a comment, like, I didn't mean to say it out loud, but I remember talking to the husband. I was like, dude, like, these horses look terrible. And the guy's like, oh no, they're fine, they're fine, that's just how they look. I'm like, that's not how horses look. Anyway, so I remember riding the horse along the beach and just like, this is weird, this is not pleasurable at all. So anyway, that was my experience with it. I ended up learning later, like, why it didn't feel right, because it's not. Another time was swimming with dolphins. I remember my husband at the time swam with dolphins, and I was like, no, no thanks. And I thought, oh, maybe I should. And so my best friend and I, we were in Hawaii, and we were swimming with the dolphins, and I was like, this doesn't seem right either. Like, how is this dolphin carrying me? And then I saw a guy, he was like a, older man, or, big adult. I'm very small. It was like an adult size, holding on to this dolphin. I'm like, the dolphin was struggling with me. Like, and I'm like a small kid size. And anyway, I imagine this dolphin had been doing this for who knows how many years, how many times a day. Like, and I'm sure the trainer's like, there's, I don't know. But to me, it didn't seem right. And then as I'm reading more and looking into this, it's like, when you're using animals as attractions, it's not good. So anyway, you gotta do what you gotta do. And it's tough. Someone's putting a beautiful little baby tiger. You're like, oh, how do I say no to you? Right? I get that. I totally get that. Just be mindful of who you are as a tourist. Are you contributing to this? Right? It's kind of like those Instagram like pictures you always see. And you're like, oh, that's fanciful. I want to go there. And you go there and you're like, oh, it's not as good, because it's like so many people go there. Anyway, that's my experience. Again, you can do what you want to do, need to do. I like to put these little seeds in your head, and you're like, damn it, now that I know, how do I unlearn this? You don't. Okay. And again, this is not to like break the magicalness of traveling. I have gone to, again, Italy, where we didn't do anything touristy because my friend lived out there. We just lived the life of his everyday thing, and that was magical. That was more magical than following a tour and so anyway, these are just things to consider in your traveling. In my experience, the times that were always the best were the times where I didn't go with a tour ship or whatever, and I just went with where the locals are and talked with what the locals are doing and ate what they were eating, right? So I just tried to, like, I mean, you can only fit in so much as a little white girl, but for me, it was a really cool opportunity, and I think it was more welcoming. Like, oh, let me show you these things, versus me going, show me this. I know that sounds weird, but that was my experience. Anyway, y'all, I'm sorry, I yammer. Anyway, reflection time. Again, I highly support traveling. I really, really, really do. I think it's very important to get out of ourselves, but when we travel, just be the anti-tourist. Be not the people that, like I'm trying to think of, there was a Family Guy episode of, I think it was Family Guy, where people came from out of town, like, oh no, here come the out of towners, and they come through and they destroy everything, and they leave, and all there's trash everywhere, and it's like, right, now we get to clean up after. Leaving no trace is really good if you go camping or visiting. And I guess my biggest thing is, you're a visitor. You're a visitor in someone else's space. And how would you want a visitor to treat your space? Whatever that is. You're at a hotel, you're going to trash it because it's not yours, right? Or, you go somewhere and you leave trash everywhere, like, someone else will pick it up. It's someone else's job, bro. That's not cool at all. That's like that's like the biggest, jerk move ever. It's like, well, I don't know, someone else will pick it up. Just be mindful of that kind of behavior. And again, I can't tell you who to be or how to be, but maybe just know that, someone's in the background going, this jerk. How do I know? I've been that person who had to pick up after someone. I'm like, really, you jerks? I think of that when I see football games and I look at those stands. I'm like, man, I would hate to be the person to have to pick up after that, because I've been to games and I've seen the way people just leave stuff. So anyway, that's all. I think my whole point in this particular lecture and all my lectures is like, how can we just not be assholes, right? Like, how can we just be better people in general, right? That's all I'm asking here, right? Okay. So, again, let's see here. Make sure you turn in your source summary and follow all the little templates and everything. And then I really want you to enjoy trying to plan this trip, just for funsies. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And this one I probably pushed a little bit harder on the anti-tourism that I meant to, but it's something that's obviously I'm very passionate about. So anyway, have fun with this, enjoy your source summary, and I'm excited to get to see what y'all come up with.